for this one today, we're going to talk about contractor and vendor contracts. So this is really important from a operations perspective, especially as you're doing development. Every single contract you enter into with a third party. So this is a general contractor, this is maybe a consultant, this is your framers, this is your foundation guy, your plumbers. All of these contractors are considered third-party vendors, and they have a contract with you that governs the type of work that they're supposed to do, as well as their obligation for payment. Because one of the most important things to understand is, as you as a property owner, your assets are fixed, they're tangible, and they're in the ground. And so you are at a disadvantage when it comes to liens and leverage in getting collections or getting paid. The vendors hold a lot of statutory and constitutional power just by nature of the fact of if the contractor owes you money, it's hard to chase him down because he doesn't have any assets and he's just very mobile. If you owe a contractor money, they can file a lien against the dirt and you're not going anywhere. So you have to understand that disparity in leverage when you're dealing with contractors. So again, law firm for anybody that doesn't know by now, law office of Ronald Rohde. We're based in Dallas, and all we do is commercial real estate transactions. Let's just talk about the key elements of a contract. And what I want to convey to you guys is I think that conceptually everybody understands the elements of a contract, the key components. You're doing it when you have a guy or the kid that comes, knocks on your door and says, "Hey, mister, I noticed your numbers are a little bit frayed. Would you like me to paint your curb with your house number?" All of these elements are there. My goal in this lesson today is to elevate your standards so that you understand when you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars and $1 million construction loan, you've got to elevate that understanding and memorialize it on paper, because it's not just enough that I have the high school kid and I say mutual understanding. What am I going to do? I'm going to pay you $20, and he says I'm going to paint two numbers that are 3 inches high. They're going to be white on black, rectangle in a crisp outline. That's the mutual understanding. I'm going to pay you $20 and you're going to paint the two numbers. Payment terms. Do I do a deposit? Does he want $10 up front and then $10 when he finishes? Or is he going to do the work first and then I pay him? But what happens if I'm not happy with it? Scope of work too. Clearly outline the project goals. What if he has overspray? What if he has trash from the job? Is he going to leave it on site? I think that there's a little bit of unspoken expectations that he's not going to leave trash on my property after he's done painting the curb. He is not going to damage my landscaping. He's not going to spray paint onto my bushes or the grass. And even though we didn't say it, there is some expectation that the scope of work does or doesn't include those types of things. And finally, termination clause. He walks up to my door and he says, "I'll paint your numbers for $20." And I say, "Yes, that's great." As he's walking back to his truck to get the can of spray paint, I can still terminate. I could say, "Hey, buddy, stop. Never mind. I changed my mind. I know that I promised I would pay you $20, but no harm, no foul. You haven't wasted any paint on me. You haven't spent any time on me. I'm going to cancel the job." And I think, again, there's that implied understanding of a termination. At what point do I get to say, I don't want it anymore? What if he's already down on his knees and he already cleaned the curb with his little brush and then he does the stencils and he's about to spray? I could still probably cancel then. And I don't think this guy would hassle me for $20 if he doesn't spray any paint. But what happens if he sprays one of them? And then I say, "Oh, never mind. I want you to cancel. I don't want to pay." I think if he's completed 50% of the job, I probably owe him $10. Maybe I can still cancel for the full 20, but maybe not. And there's no wrong answers, but I think that's a great little sample of everybody intuitively does these things, but your expectations may not be the same. And I guarantee with different vendors, the expectations are not the same because you're expecting a lot more leeway and the vendor expects a lot more money for setting aside the time to work on your project. Negotiations for a successful contract. Collaboration is key. This is what I talk about in alignment of incentives. You've got to make sure that this is not a fly-by-night person. You want somebody who has been in the industry for a long time, somebody that cares about their reputation among the people that you talk to. And it sounds a little bit pedantic, but sometimes tarnishing their reputation is the only weapon or the only leverage that you have. And so I would much rather hire somebody who cares about their reputation, because that may be the only thing I can do. I can't hurt them with money. I can't hurt them with a lawsuit. All I can do is their reputation. Communication is vital. I have a lot of issues where I get contracts and it doesn't specify the number of reports or updates or photos or videos or specifications or what's been delivered. And it's very, very frustrating for my clients that they have this contract and they just don't get any updates. So where are the trusses? There's a lot of stages of this truss manufacturing from these metal building guys. Has the steel been ordered? Is it shipped? Is it on site at the plant? Have they cut? Have they measured? Have they welded? Have they put these together? How many have they put together? When is it going to go on the truck? Has it gotten on the truck? When is it going to be shipped to my site? And when does it arrive on the job site? Those are 15 different time points that if the contract doesn't require, or at least loosely say, you must update me every 3 or 4 weeks, if it doesn't say that, I almost guarantee they're going to do the bare minimum, even if they are good people and even if they are going to do a good job. It's very stressful to not have updates. And so anybody that's done some construction will tell you that's a pain. You got to update the people. Legal expertise is advised. Again, it's a plug for myself, but it's also a plug that you need to understand the contract that you're signing and add more details than you think are necessary just for clarity. So I just really push that is clarity, clarity, clarity. That's the most important thing, is to reduce ambiguity. Negotiation and drafting. So clear roles, you've got to understand, if you're going to be a developer, what is your role in the entire process? If you're going to be the GC, and I talk to a lot of people at FlexSpace Connect, they are GCs. They're really experienced actually hiring individual subs. And that's a different role than a developer that is going to hire a GC to then oversee the subcontractors. And there's no wrong answer. You guys can do either one, but understanding what your expectations are from the subs or from the individual vendors will make it all work together. Do a little bit of research. I don't like when I ask people, how'd you find this guy? And they just, say he was referred from my plumber, he was referred from my tile guy. That's really not enough. I would say you've got to do some basic due diligence, digging on the individual's driver's license, maybe do a background check. This is serious amounts of money, and every single dispute I would say that my clients earn are, 6 figures. It's at least 100K of dispute, because there's no such thing as a small vendor on these jobs. Maybe landscaping is your smallest one, but there's no such thing as a small vendor. Communication, that's what I talked about. If you're negotiating, be sure to set expectations with them of when you expect to sign this contract, because that will align people getting to their lowest and best price as quickly or as reasonably as possible. Favorable terms while balancing risk. That's just about cheaper versus faster versus less buffer. Time is money, and the longer it takes you to build a project, the more money it costs, as well as the opportunity cost on starting to receive rents. But the tighter that you schedule all of your trades and you have no room for error, you might be in risk of default for your vendors sequentially down the line. So chronologically, if you run behind schedule, they're going to charge you penalties when you have to reschedule them. Finally, clear and ambiguous language. I talk about that a lot, but we'll see it in your contracts, I'm sure. Scope creep. This is number one issue, is clear scope of work, set boundaries for change orders. I think this is standard, but I can't say it enough, because you guys don't necessarily abide by it, even though it's the right way. All change orders must be in writing. They must be approved by the owner. You've got to clarify, materials overages versus labor overages versus contractor delay or owner delay, budget overruns. Talk about that. Communication. I feel like we've gone through that, but putting these into the contract is really key. Not just having a conversation with the vendor, like, oh, you're going to text me, right? Oh, yeah, I'll send you pictures every day. My project manager will send you pictures every day. They say that, and then they won't do it. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I hope that, it gives you a little bit more confidence when you're signing these contracts and just having some standardization across what is the level of sophistication or detail that you want and you expect out of your vendors.